All right, welcome back for the third installment of The Launch. This is the new podcast that we're rolling out. I want to bring some of the most influential people that I've come across in my life to you guys, to the masses, so that we can hear some great stories, see what they did in their life to launch and take things to the next level. So I want to welcome a gentleman that doesn't need much introduction if you've been around the greater Fresno, Clovis area. That's Mr. Paul Rigby. Thank you for being on the show, Coach.
Love being with you every time.
Yeah. So first things first, a little history, you guys. Coach and I have known each other for nearly 27 years. It's been that long, Coach.
Like I said, you're bad at math.
I know. It was actually my strong suit, but now I'm just running comps when it comes to numbers. But 27 years, Coach. Kasner, 7th grade football coach. And I remember even going back, a little before that, I was a Pop Warner kid over at Fresno High, looking across, and there was just this fiery guy, who could whistle, about 200 yards and could scream like it was nobody's business, right?
I didn't yell very much, I don't think.
Yeah, no, you didn't have to. I think it was just like kickoff team, because you guys were putting it to us. So welcome to the podcast, Coach. Tell us a little bit about the history in education and coaching. How long has it been?
Hey, thanks, Brandon. 38 years ago, going on 38 years, but in 1982 is when I first came to Kasner.
Wow.
Right out of Fresno State.
Okay, go Dogs.
I was 21 when I graduated, 22 started teaching.
Wow.
So when I was a little kid, I started teaching, and
literally.
I just wanted to, like any 22-year-old, go in there and kind of turn the world around. And
right on.
But I enjoyed what I was going into, so I was excited to do it, and I still have fun going to work every day.
That's awesome. So the great thing about this, is I've been able to not only get to know you on the coaching side, you as an educator. I've seen you as a father. I remember in this mind, I've been hit plenty of times with a football helmet on, and sometimes with one off. But one of my memories of those days of Kasner is I remember your son kicking a soccer ball in the hallway. And tell us now where that son is. I mean, think about how long ago that was.
Well, you mean my oldest son?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Case is 30, going to be 32 in a couple days here, and he coaches and teaches at Clovis West High School, right back in the mix. Just
there you
like I tried to gear him away from education and coaching, and he decided just to do it anyway.
Right, so he's right back.
It's a great path.
Yeah, it is a path. One that I actually thought about, and I remember you giving me an opportunity to help out at camps way back when.
You've been really good at that too.
Yeah, no, and now I get to help coach real estate. Right? I love it.
That's fun too.
Okay, but one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is obviously you're. If anybody knows Coach Rigby, he's a big personality. Definitely one of the most sincere people, a man of faith.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and somebody that instilled discipline at a very young age to many, right? And many people could say, hey, I've got I got discipline from playing sports. Maybe they went to some sort of school for it. Parents were strict, military, whatever it was. I can personally speak for myself and a few others that at a young age, those adolescent years, had coach, yourself and a few others that were like, hey, they start putting that discipline into place. So put that together with what parenting should be doing, family and friends that you're surrounding yourself with. Where did that discipline component come from way back when? Yeah,
that's a good point. We talk about the discipline structure all the time, but in teaching, for one part of it is in teaching, just the same as coaching.
Right.
If you're going to be a good coach, you better be a really good teacher. So in the classroom, if you want to get anything done, you have to have a structure in your classroom so that kids can learn.
Right.
On the football field or on the court, you have to have the same thing going on in your area. So on the football field, if I don't have kids' attention, if they're not listening to what we're saying, if they don't know what our play is, if they don't know, what our ideas or our plans are, and they're not going to stick to the plans, then we can't teach them what we want to teach them. That's a big part of it, and it all comes back down to the life lessons thing.
Yeah. So life lessons, and you mentioned another word in there that we use a lot. And, for any entrepreneur out there, anybody that's, potentially making a shift in whatever, profession it is, if you're taking it to the next level, there was a key word and it was structure, right? Obviously, discipline and structure are in the same family. and they hold hands at all times.
Well, here's an important point too, and I was talking with you a little bit about it before. You know, if we take kids like in football especially,
right,
but a lot of other sports, take kids like Brandon Gonzalez or your buddy Sean,
right,
who are you know, great athletes and guys that have an edge on them that can hit somebody, and you know, you don't want to cage them up. You don't want discipline where somebody's not going to be able to do what they need to do to get their job done.
Yeah.
And it could be in the business world as well. You know, you don't want to have so many restrictions where they can't get those things done. So you got to kind of be careful about what your restrictions are, what your rules are, what your discipline structure is.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm glad that we did get a chance to kind of catch up beforehand, because you did bring up a really good point, and that was boundaries. It's something that, you know, we create, that we need to create, but like you said, you know, you can bound them too much to where you restrict them, and then you never get to see the growth.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I sit down with agents, you know, very much like when you sit down with those players or when you're, you know, working with them, we try to see, you know, we want to push their boundaries. We want to stay, you know, in a place where we can push their, you know, get them to their potential, right? But at the same time, you know, we understand that we got to also create some social boundaries, you know, some boundaries on how they're going to respect the game, whatever it is, you know, respect each other, their competitors, you know. And speaking of, you know, let's go back just a bit. You know, I want to touch on you've been blessed. And you've also blessed many people with, you know, just some great, you know, seasons over. And as small as it is, 7th grade football, high school, I don't care if it's high school, college football, 7th grade is some fun times. You know, you're 12, 13 years old, playing with your buddies.
Yeah.
You've been, you know, tell us some of the guys that you were able to coach in those days.
Oh, man. Well, you know, the Clovis West area was blessed with a lot of really, really good athletes. And, you know, yourself included, you had a good group there.
Oh, that was
too,
a
man.
great group, right?
You had like a Sean Soares.
Yeah.
I had to say that because he'll say something if I don't say something like Sean Soares on your your podcast. We had, of course, the David Carr man himself. McKay Christensen we talked about.
Yeah.
And, you know, more recently, guys like Caleb Kelly, Adrian Martinez, you know, the Dakota. And,
Dakota and Jaden
Helms, and then Rodney Wright, and, you know, guys like that.
That's awesome. Man, I mean, because you take it back from when I was a kid, and now I see these, you know, kids becoming young men as you have. Yeah. What's one common denominator you've been able to see? Because you just mentioned some very, you know, elite athletes, rather other than myself. But what was one common denominator that you saw that they had?
I looked at all those kids, and the kids that I find when I look back in my heart and I find the athletes on our field, the guys that I connect with best, I look back and I think, what do those guys have in common?
Right.
And I realize, well, they're all men of faith.
Yeah.
And every single one of those guys are the guys I just mentioned.
Right.
And that's something that's really important in life. And I think you learn that as you go. But we as teachers, well, that's a big responsibility for us to instill without breaking the law. Anyway.
No, and I know that there was FCA back then. Shout out to, you know, Coach Babcock, you know, who was somebody that was really running that way back when. And the great thing is now my son, you know, seeing him get involved, and a lot of other kids out there getting involved with their FCAs. It's a neat thing, right? It shows them that, you know, how they can align themselves, gives them a moral compass of sorts.
It gives them some great leaders that come and talk. Have you made that talk before?
I have not.
Get you roped into that one.
Yeah. So, Coach, you know, I want to go back just a little bit for you. You know, I had a great conversation with a gentleman by the name of Dave Harris.
Yeah, okay.
You know, Coach Harris.
I remember where this is going.
Yeah. For those that don't know, great Coach Harris was the head coach for Hoover in the playing days of Coach Rigby here.
Yeah, one of my mentors, one of my favorite guys.
Right on. And he told me a story that you were a little frustrated with some playing time, and you know, you wanted to see more field. And I guess I
remember where that went.
Yeah, I remember. I guess the other guy on the other side of you, or who you were competing with, was pretty decent.
Yeah. So I was, as a junior, I was starting, and as a senior, I was starting, and then I began to be running some plays in, and I wasn't extremely happy with that. So I went into Coach Harris and I said, "Hey, Coach, I'm not understanding why I'm not getting all the time that I got before. Can we talk about it a little bit?" And he said, "Sure. Well, let me ask you this. If we're going to do 40s, who's got the best 40 time, you or Henry Ellard?" And I said, well, I guess
Henry's
Henry,
got some speed.
what do you think about the deep threat? If we're going to throw a deep threat, are we going to go with you or Henry at this point? And I said, Coach Harris, thanks for talking to me. I'll talk to you later. I understand.
He was basically answering your questions with the question.
I guess I knew it. I just wasn't ready. But as I look back,
Yeah.
I don't mind, losing out to a future Hall of Famer, a guy that should be.
Right. Yeah. No. Henry Allard is a big name around here. Great bulldog, Ram, of yesteryear. And so that was a fun story. Hearing him say that. But he did.
But if Henry ever hears this, I taught you. Remember that part? I taught you.
Yeah. Right. You gave him the hands. You gave him the height, the speed, and everything. Well, somebody had to push him, right?
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, the great thing that sports has taught me, and hopefully you can, elaborate on this because you've been around the world of sports and competition and discipline and all that, those things we're talking about that can easily translate over into business, right? Just having somebody there to push you, right? Who has pushed you over the years, as far as, elevating, like to become better and, some mentors in your life?
Yeah. Well, of course, like you, Brandon, it started with my dad. My dad played a quarterback at Cal for a phenomenal coach named Pappy Waldorf. It's really blast from the past. But anyway, so I grew up as with my dad pushing me. I never knew that. But pushed me in a great direction. He would always be the guy to say, hey, coach is right. Just go do what you're supposed to do. If I would lose at something, I got cut one time.
Right.
I don't know how that happened, but I got cut one time. My dad says, hey, go back and try it again next time and don't cry about it. Just let's get it done. So you learn things like that. Dave Harris was a great influence to me. Yeah. And Coach Harris was somebody I wanted to be like. I grabbed some great stuff from him as he was coaching and got to do that later when he happened to be the athletic director at Alta Sierra.
Became a competitor?
Came back to education, did that. So, no, we got to share meetings together, and it was fun to hear it from a different perspective. And then I think I shared with you before that when I was about 12, I was at Awanee Junior High School, and my PE coach, Don Smith, was a guy that I looked at and said, I think I'm going to be, I want to be a PE teacher and a football coach, and that's what I decided to do from that point. Yeah,
you took that path and ran with it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys like that, and you've probably everybody comes across the same thing where you take a little bit of what you like from a lot of different people, and you may not like a particular person, but there's something that I see in that guy that I like. Yeah, I like what he does like that.
You mentioned something, you might not have caught it, but I know it's something we've talked about too, and it's a really important point that you brought up, in our last discussion was the opportunity to fail. Yeah. You've seen it in education, or I should say in coaching, just, what parents do and don't do. Yeah. And if you want to elaborate that on
what I've always said was, what I would tell parents is please, and what you don't see today is parents aren't allowing their kids to fail. Right. Starting at a young age, as they're younger, it's a big deal to a kid to fail. Yeah. But I think it's our job as parents to let them know how to handle it after they fail, but let them fail and start young doing that kind of thing. If you're in the 7th grade, Brandon, and you get cut from football when we have football, and you get cut from football, that's devastating.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I mean, that's a big deal. Yeah. If we look at the big picture, that's not a big deal at all. No. But to a kid at that age, it is, and as an adult, we know that that's a big deal to them. But it's not, so let them fail then they can figure out how to pick it up. Yeah. Then as the things get a little bit more serious and they fail, they can say to themselves, oh yeah, I've failed like that before. I know I can make it here.
Yeah, we know how to get back up off
there's
the
a
ground.
Lot, and it just keeps going from a little bit less serious to more serious.
Right. No, I think that's a very big fundamental in life, and obviously the one that we even preach in, in real estate is as agents are getting started, obviously we don't want to fail in a transaction. We got to practice. We got to practice. We got to role play. We got to do some things to really fail. And we actually dubbed a little term. It's called failing forward, right?
Oh, great point.
Because we want to know that we're still moving forward. We're making progress. It may not be perfect, but we're getting progress. And I think that's a problem. In the discussion we had, a lot of parents want this perfection that is so elusive, right? But if your kid's progressing in, the sport and, whatever it is in education, then you got to take that as a win, right?
You do. And here's an example of somebody failing at high school sports. Let's say you're a junior and you're not starting. Well, you have next year, but a lot of athletes don't wait till next year.
Yeah.
What do? They move to another school so that they can be the starter, instead of trying to work harder at beating the people that are in front of you, or helping the people that are in front of you, or being a better teammate and maybe moving to a position that a coach wants you to in order to help the team out. So there's a lot of good lessons that you could take out of it.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things, how I mentioned, like, who pushed you, is because there's that team member where, I can look back and I'm like, if you can contribute by pushing other people. And just the way that we even talk about in office culture, you want to surround yourself with really good people. Iron sharpens iron. We want to, continue to contribute, bring something to the table, and then take something from them as well. But, it's got to be reciprocal.
Yeah, I love that. Iron sharpens iron. That's wonderful. And another example of that in our football world would be when we ran the wing tee for several years.
Yep.
Well, in the wing tee, 2 guards are pulling, and so you got to have some guards that have some wheels and some guys that can move. We got running backs that we put at guard sometimes because they weren't going to start, but we needed their help. We needed some athletes at that position. Did they like that? No, because they wanted to carry the football.
Exactly.
But we'd had to make deals with them, like, hey, Corey, can you play guard? And I'll let you play anything you want on defense, but just play guard for us right now.
Yeah.
And you get to start and help out the team. And so it's a team thing.
Right.
That's another concept that works in the adult world regardless of what your business is.
Yeah.
Help them be a team player.
Yeah, contribution, in any way, in any fashion.
Or in society, yeah.
Right, for the greater good. Now, kind of talking and a little bit about, let's talk, I've been fortunate enough to know and see how your children have grown, just because I play in an annual golf tournament. I didn't play last year, Coach. I think it was the first time in like 9 years or 10 years.
We'll have to see how it works out this year.
Yeah, I know. It'll be interesting. But, it's you're doing this all. You've worked hard. You've built a reputation at a school. And the other thing is you've been loyal to school and dedicated throughout those 38 years. What is your impact? What is something that you're hoping to leave behind, whether it be for other educators, for your children, for anybody that you've come in contact with? Have you thought like,
well, I just enjoy being there, so there's that part of it. But I talked at a dinner one time to some people about what I've learned in education, or what people have learned from me, and I think it comes to more of me learning from the kids, and I've learned more from the kids than they have from me, and I learn every year. I'm still learning things. I learned in the last couple years that I don't know what another person's life is like at home if I'm teaching them. I learned that somebody doesn't have parents, and I don't know that, and so coming to school might be their savior. That might be what gets them going. So if I'm the first guy to holler at them, that doesn't do anything. So I learned that stuff from them. And so I think I learn more than they do. But as far as kids go, I just enjoy watching the products of the kids that come out of experiences with me and other teachers like you, the successes that you have in life. I like seeing my guys on Saturday football and Sunday football on TV. Kelly. Those things are great.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
Billy Bullock, right? Did you start Billy?
Oh, Billy. You had to bring that up. Yeah, so Billy's a little angry, and I apologize back and forth. But he didn't start in the 7th grade. But after that, he started all the way through.
Yeah, he did pretty good.
Yeah, I think he was actually statistically one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL for 8 or 9 years?
9 years,
10 years?
9 seasons, I think. Yeah.
So I apologize again, Billy. I did it in person, but I'll do it again.
Yeah, right on. Well, that's cool. And here's the other thing that I think sometimes educators don't understand, and obviously I'm a real estate broker, so I see it. There's a lot of similarities, right? How you educate, you nurture, and not everybody's going to pick up what you're putting down or smell what you're stepping in.
Yeah.
But there's times when if you allow people to, like you said, how you're letting people, you learn stuff from people.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that empowers them. Like, especially the youth, when they feel like, did they just listen to me and actually kind of learn something from me? Like, they're able to feel that they contributed. Everybody wants to contribute.
Yeah.
Even the little punk, down, down the list who's constantly they want to contribute something, but they're so used to contributing in a bad way. But if they know that, wow, that teacher actually just took what I listened and turned it into a lesson. Like,
That's right.
that's pretty, that's pretty neat.
That's a great point.
And there's something, on my side too, when I get a new agent and they're always like, okay, you're going to teach me and I'm not going to be able to contribute. And it's like, actually, your mindset's closer to that of a buyer and seller than mine, because I'm jaded.
Yeah.
I've been on this side
Wow.
for 15 years. So bring me something, share your wisdom. And the people are like, whoa, wait, I can contribute like that right now? So that's the one thing that I think educators really have a card in their deck that they don't even realize that, when you, like you said it, you didn't even realize you said it, but when you're allowing to learn, you're still learning yourself.
Yeah.
And, you don't even realize it.
That's a good way to draw them in. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, and your energy has been infectious. I think that's the other thing with education, right? Don't you? I mean, how do you got to maintain that energy for that long?
I don't know. I just like to laugh and have fun a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I just sometimes I have to learn to draw the line too. But we got to get stuff done. You remember before games, I don't know if you do or not, but we'd work our tails off all week and we'd get ready, and then we'd get ready for a warm of the game, and then we'd come together for a pregame thing. And the last thing I'd say before we hit the field is do this, do that, but above all things, have fun playing.
Yeah.
That's I want them to have fun. If you're not having fun, don't come out here.
Yeah. There was something special about the grass, the smell, that 9 o'clock game, on a Saturday morning. It definitely takes you back.
Wet.
Yeah, it was a little wet, but that's good stuff. Well, we talked about, the mentors and the people that have been able to help, and you mentioned that, right? There's like ingredients that we take from everybody that we surround ourselves with. There's lessons that we keep learning, we keep teaching, whether we know it or not. And I definitely feel that's one of the reasons I wanted you on here, because I don't think you realize that. I mean, it takes energy. It takes endurance. We talk a lot about that in our business. People think I'm going to come out and have one great year and that's it. For any entrepreneur out there, anybody getting started in something, that's ready to launch, it's going to take endurance. It's going to take time, right?
Oh, yeah. Brandon, we have new teachers that come in that the first year of teaching is absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn more your first year than you did with any student teaching or whatever the first couple of years. And sometimes you're just not even sure you're going to make it, but you just lean on the people around you. If you like what you're doing or you think you do, just stick with it. But that first year is a big learning experience for you.
It's like a first transaction for somebody in my line of work,
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be a steep learning curve. Hold on. And like you said, lean in. That's something else that we talk a lot about is, people usually pull back when it gets a little tough, right? In that first transaction, that first year, or that first day in practice. And it's like, lean into the pain, man. You'll push right through it.
Lean on your teammates, right? You surrounded yourself with a bunch of good teammates here.
Yep.
And so there's a great opportunity to use that.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I definitely always appreciate, chopping it up with you. We can't share all of his one-liners here. I'm sorry. Some of them just, he's got trademarked, and I get sued for that.
I'm a work in progress.
Yeah, and then his whistle is one for the ages. Coach, if you could just do a quick little. Yep, I'm telling you, you can hear that thing across. I think people are pulling over right now because they thought somebody whistled at them.
Sometimes we did the train whistle.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's got about 30 different whistles out there.
There's a few other ones.
Soundtrack will be released soon. But Coach, again, a very unique perspective. I don't, anybody that's listening that's like, well, you know what, I'm getting started in investing. Well, guess what? There's lessons that can be learned, whether it's, the structure, the discipline, anything. It's just, it shows, again, life's parallels.
It's all crossover.
Exactly. Yeah. And more importantly, relationships, right? The
Absolutely.
relationship, 27 years, it's
most
going.
important.
Yep. I'm starting to go graze. It looks like you got a couple going, so look at that.
Yeah, quite silver, isn't it?
All right, Coach. Well, keep going strong. Keep fighting the good fight.
I appreciate talking with you every time.
Likewise. And, that we're out. Appreciate you guys tuning in this time. We will be back in action soon enough. So take care. And, again, Coach Rigby, thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
All right.